My family operates an antique shop, and we inadvertently exchanged our child with the influential Gu family in the antiques realm. On the day of retrieving the true daughter, I had anticipated that the false daughter would not return. Yet she appeared. She arrived clutching her comprehensive guide to antique appraisal. I nonchalantly tucked my hands into my pockets as I boarded the vehicle, and the domineering older brother, who was sent to fetch me, cast a sidelong glance and inquired, "Where's your luggage?" I slowly replied, "I couldn't be bothered to fetch it. Isn't bringing myself along sufficient?" The domineering older brother simply stared in silence. Once settled in the car, I fastened my seatbelt and adopted a comfortable position, reclining back without further movement. Gu Han regarded me with an expression that was difficult to articulate, as if contemplating something profoundly abstract. Oh, Gu Han is my long-lost elder brother, serving as the president of an auction house specializing in antiques. I am indeed the true daughter who was mistakenly exchanged. My nonchalant demeanor, akin to that of an outing, rendered Gu Han momentarily speechless before he asked, "Aren't you going to bid them farewell?"
No.
"Sister, my only sister, are you truly leaving just like that?" I had barely spoken when I was interrupted by a wailing cry, followed by a human-like figure dashing forward, pressing against the car window and grasping my hand. "I can't bear to see you go. What will I do if you leave?" As he spoke, he seized my arm and shook it vigorously, making me feel like seaweed being tossed about, my spirit almost escaping through my mouth. "Indeed, I am departing. If anything arises, burn some paper." I closed my eyes peacefully. Yunfei paused, only to wail, even louder the next moment, "Sister, the authenticity of that calligraphy and painting has yet to be determined." He was abruptly lifted and stood upright, his cries abruptly ceasing. Wen Shiya, holding a thick notebook, adjusted her glasses, and a glimmer of cold light seemed to flash behind the lenses. "You must be Yunfei, correct? According to our parents, during this period, you are responsible for the custody of the 8 pieces of blue and white porcelain in the store." The seriousness of her inquiry caused Yunfei to instinctively straighten his posture, adopting the solemn demeanor reminiscent of facing a strict teacher in elementary school. "Why yes, that's right. What of it?" When Shiya began flipping through her notebook, extracting a pen from her pocket, and while writing, she asked, "At what time do you conduct inspections? What is the preservation environment for the artifacts? What are the temperature and humidity controls? Is there any unusual wear and tear?" With each question, Yunfei's mouth gradually fell open, and he appeared utterly dazed. Gu Han, however, seemed to have anticipated this, raising his eyelids and standing silently beside us. I cast a rather surprised glance at Wen Shiya. From a privileged young lady to the daughter of an antique shop owner, she displayed no sense of incongruity, adapting even more swiftly than I did. Wen Shiya met my gaze, and politely nodded. I smiled slightly, gesturing towards the bewildered Yunfei, and remarked to her, "Yunfei is quite capable. Feel free to summon him for any tasks you wish to undertake." Wen Shiya's eyes brightened, and after a moment of contemplation, she stated, "The Gu family is affluent." The eldest brother of the Gu family remained silent, while the younger brother from the Yun family was equally speechless. By the time we returned to the Gu family villa, it was nearly 10 o'clock, past my usual bedtime, and my eyelids were battling against each other, nearly causing me to doze off while standing. However, upon entering, I was startled by an affected voice that nearly caused the sleepiness to evaporate. "Elder brother, you have finally returned. Aunt May, quickly bring out the tremella soup with lotus seeds that I asked you to prepare. Elder brother must be exhausted after such a long journey, and he surely hasn't eaten well on the way." A girl adorned in a beige qipao gracefully approached, surrounding Gu Han with concern, her brow furrowed in a display of empathy. After an extensive exchange, her gaze flickered towards me, and she gasped, "Oh, dear. Sister, I apologize for forgetting you." Cautiously, she glanced at me and then turned to Gu Han. "Elder brother, is this the Yun Shu sister? Will Sister Shiya truly not be returning?" Gu Han's expression remained impassive. "Wherever she wishes to go is her own affair. From now on, Yun Chu is your sister." He then turned to me and introduced, "This is Gu Wanwan, a child supported by our mother, now considered adopted." Gu Wanwan timidly regarded me, her expression quite awkward. "Yun Chu, sister, I was unaware of your return today. I have not prepared for you. And you won't hold it against me, will you?" I stifled a yawn behind my hand. Although I appeared to be present, my spirit had already drifted away. Have the formalities concluded? If so, I must promptly find a place to rest. Gu Han pinched the bridge of his nose, revealing a hint of fatigue on his handsome face. "After such a long journey, you are weary. Take her to her room to rest." Gu Wanwan bit her lip, but the room is not yet ready. Gu Han lowered his hand, his brow furrowing. What is the situation? Wasn't it clearly instructed before we departed? His stern gaze flicked towards Aunt May nearby. Gu Wanwan flusteredly explained, "Do not blame Aunt May. It is my fault. I thought that since my sister was returning, I would vacate my room, but there was too much to tidy up and I couldn't finish in time." As she spoke, her eyes appeared ready to brim with tears. Gu Han's frown deepened. "There are plenty of vacant rooms upstairs. Just prepare another. But my room has the best lighting. Sister should be in the finest room upon her return. It is entirely my fault. I should have moved out sooner. I should never have occupied such a wonderful room. Otherwise, let sister sleep in my room tonight. I can rest anywhere, sister." Gu Wanwan, wiping her tears, gazed at me with determination, but her words abruptly halted. Gu Han followed her gaze, and his calm demeanor cracked slightly. I was leaning against the wall with my eyes closed, having already fallen into a deep slumber. I awoke the next day at noon, opening my eyes in a completely unfamiliar room, devoid of any panic. In my childhood, there was an instance when I accompanied my father on a midnight excursion to collect antiques. On our return journey, utterly fatigued, I succumbed to slumber beside a haystack by the roadside. My father, walking ahead, turned back in a sudden realization that his daughter had vanished, sending him into a cold sweat. My mother scolded him for over a month because of this, and my young self, Yun Fei, was subsequently given the task of keeping an eye on me, ensuring I did not doze off indiscriminately. As I descended the stairs, Gu Han and Gu Wanwan were already seated at the dining table. Upon spotting me, Gu Han seemed to exhale in relief. I had never seen anyone sleep so soundly, as if they were a lifeless corpse in bed, impossible to rouse. Had I not felt warmth emanating from my body, he might have genuinely considered taking me to the hospital. Once I settled down, Gu Han expressed concern and inquired if I needed anything, suggesting I compile a list for his assistant to procure. Across from me, Gu Wanwan bit her lip, her expression a mix of hesitation and anticipation. Naturally, I would not be the one to break the silence. It would take a remarkable individual to coax a word from my lips. Yun Fei had certainly knelt before me in desperation, seeking my attention. As the dishes were served, I picked at a single item, savoring it slowly. Gu Han glanced at me once, then again, before finally breaking the silence. "With so many dishes, why do you only eat that one?" He paused, his tone softening slightly. "This is your home. Do not be reserved. Feel free to take what you desire." It appeared Gu Wanwan had been waiting for this moment. She immediately began serving me food. "Sister, you've never tried these before. Do sample them. I know your family runs an antique shop," she exclaimed, covering her mouth in surprise, her eyes wide as she continued. "I didn't mean to imply anything negative about your background. I only meant that living in such an environment must have been challenging. But now that you are back with the Gu family, it's different. If there is anything you wish to eat, please let me know, and I'll ensure Aunt May prepares it for you." She watched my reaction intently as I responded with a flat "Oh, thank you." She lingered for a moment, her smile faltering. After a brief pause, I turned to Gu Han and remarked, "It's too far. Raising my hand is exhausting." Gu Han seemed momentarily taken aback, finally realizing I was answering his earlier question. His expression a mix of amusement and disbelief. "Just raising your hand." My phone chimed incessantly with incoming messages, and noticing my indifference, Gu Han nudged me. "Aren't you going to check?" "No need," I replied, my eyes still focused on my meal. Gu Wanwan's gaze flickered, and suddenly, she reached for my phone, adopting a concerned demeanor. "What if it's something urgent? Although you've returned to the Gu family, you shouldn't sever ties with those you knew before." As she casually opened my phone, a cacophony of distressed cries erupted from the speakers. "Sister, help me. This woman is a demon. She writes plans for antique collections at midnight. There are 100 rules just for maintaining blue and white porcelain. She insists on expanding our antique shop and aims to open a branch within 6 months and go public within 3 years. She dragged me out of bed at 6 this morning to appraise each antique and has been teaching me about the characteristics of porcelain from various dynasties. I don't want to be tied to antiques for the rest of my life, let alone be a young master in the antique business, even if it goes public." A chorus of lamentations echoed through the living room, painting a vivid picture of Yun Fei's despair. The atmosphere grew palpably tense. Gu Han straightened his back and declared, "I've finished eating, take your time." With that, he rose and strode out, heading for work. An inexplicable surge of energy coursed through me. Meanwhile, Gu Wanwan, who had previously been quite theatrical, suddenly turned subdued. I pondered deeply. The child who had once been mistakenly switched with me, the former daughter of the Gu family. was now Yunfei's biological sister. Was she truly so intimidating? Through Yunfei's relentless barrage, I gleaned just how driven Wen Shiya was. Not only was she tirelessly drafting plans, but she was also swiftly renovating the shop, implementing scientific management and precise marketing strategies. She even humbly visited Yun's father's antique shop for 3 days to assess the antiques and began executing reforms. Remarkably, the reformed antique shop had ascended several tiers in quality, with business thriving far beyond previous levels. Yet, this left Yunfei in a bind, becoming the sole pawn under Wen Shiya's command. However, this was not the most alarming aspect. The most frightening revelation was that the Yun family's antique shop was merely Wen Shiya's side hustle. Her primary role was as the project leader at Gu's auction house, a position she had earned through dedication and hard work after submitting her resume upon turning 18, all while keeping her lineage as a Gu heiress concealed. Such prowess was indeed terrifying. Suddenly, I comprehended Gu Han's sense of urgency this morning. With such a fiercely ambitious sister by his side, constantly posing a threat to his position as the family patriarch, how could he maintain his authority? But now, with me as his lackadaisical sister, I doubted such worries would persist. While the domineering elder brother worked to support the family, I languished on the sofa, engrossed in my phone. Gu Wanwan practiced the guzheng. I remained sprawled on the couch. Gu Wanwan finished her calligraphy class. I still lay there. Gu Wanwan studied tea arts with Aunt May. I merely flipped over. Sister, Gu Wanwan approached, holding a cup of brewed tea, her words faltering. My fingers danced across the screen, oblivious to her presence. A flicker of annoyance crossed Gu Wanwan's exquisite features as her tone suddenly elevated. Sister, though the Gu family is affluent, we should also strive for self-improvement and not squander our time. After a brief pause, she bit her lip and continued. Perhaps your previous environment was too poor, limiting your exposure to truly exceptional individuals, resulting in a narrow perspective. You seem accustomed to the lethargy of lower-class existence. But, she emphasized her words, fists clenched, glaring at me with righteous indignation. That is not an excuse for your decline. I blinked in confusion. What is she talking about? Gu Wanwan frowned, about to speak again, when a familiar voice echoed from my phone. She has always been like this, unable to grasp the main point, lacking logical coherence. And her semantics are muddled. Wen Shiya's voice carried a slight emphasis. Gu Wanwan, have you wasted all those years in language classes? How did your language teachers instruct you? Otherwise, how is it that at your age, you still cannot articulate clearly? Sister? Gu Wanwan's complexion paled, tension radiating from her as she instinctively stood at attention. Wen Shiya's words seemed to hit her hard, and she turned, leaving in a daze. Wen Shiya expressed her gratitude over the phone. The software you developed is quite effective. Yunfei was correct. You truly excel at this. I responded nonchalantly. Before the call ended, Wen Shiya recalled something and cautioned. In a few days, our parents from the Gu family will be returning. They are quite different from Yun's parents, so you should prepare yourself mentally. Different in what way? Are they not human? I pondered for a moment, then dismissed the thought. My life in the Gu household felt no different from my previous existence in the Yun family. It was merely a change of scenery. The large sofa in the Gu family's living room was indeed a pleasure to recline upon. Over these days, aside from ascending to my bedroom to sleep, I had hardly left its comforting embrace. In fact, I had contemplated sleeping directly on the sofa, but that night, Gu Han caught me while I was downstairs getting a glass of water. He promptly sent me back to my bedroom, personally ensuring I would not sneak back down. Given your years in the Yun family, he seemed to have something to say, but ultimately sighed, never mind. Get some rest. Over the past few days, Gu Han had fully grasped the distinction between a sloth and a human. I could maintain the same position for hours without moving. On the day I arrived, Gu Han handed me a card containing a monthly allowance of 200,000. How amusing that was. For several days, I have not ventured beyond my doorstep, let alone spent any money. Today, Gu Han, who is also resting at home, has noticed the disarray of my existence, which has reached a level where one might inadvertently neglect their own well-being. Unable to bear the sight any longer, he has taken it upon himself to rectify my unsatisfactory lifestyle. He frequently urges me to rise and stretch my limbs, and reminds me not to fixate on the screen for too long, encouraging me to gaze into the distance instead. His incessant nagging has become quite bothersome, and in a rare moment of initiative, I inquire about his presence at home. Gu Han hesitates briefly, about to respond, when the sound of a car outside interrupts him, plunging him into silence. At that moment, Gu Wanwan, who has been practicing piano upstairs, joyfully rushes down, resembling a fledgling swallows returning to their nest, and leaps into a woman's embrace. Mom, Dad, you're back. Wanwan has missed you so much. The woman affectionately holds her, exclaiming sweetly, while the man beside her joins in the warm display of family affection, showering them with intimate and endearing words. Mrs. Gu excitedly recounts tales of their travels, unveiling various gifts, to which Gu Wanwan responds enthusiastically, cupping her face and exclaiming in awe. Even during dinner, the mother and daughter continue their cheerful chatter, while Mr. Gu watches them with a smile, creating a picture of blissful harmony that starkly contrasts with the disconnect I feel with Gu Han. Today, Gu Han's demeanor is particularly taciturn. He casts a glance my way, his gaze seemingly imbued with a sense of reassurance. I respond with a puzzled look. Gu Han then directs his attention to the delighted Gu Wanwan, who is showcasing her gifts and firmly states, "All right, let's focus on dinner. The gifts can be opened in your room afterward." He then turns to Mrs. Gu, softening his tone slightly. "Mom, since it's your first meeting with Chu, shouldn't you also present her with a gift?" Mrs. Gu lets out a long "oh," realizing she had forgotten about me, and she pats her forehead, contemplating what to give. However, all the gifts she brought back have already been unwrapped by Gu Wanwan. Not wanting to dwell on it, she simply takes one of the gifts from Gu Wanwan's hands. Chu, this is for you. Mommy forgot to buy you one, but I'll make it up to you next time. Mr. Gu interjects, "Just accept what your mother has for you. It wasn't intentional. We simply forgot." I find myself unwilling to accept it. I do not wish for gifts that have already been unwrapped. My words cause an immediate chill to descend upon the dining table. Mrs. Gu appears flustered, her voice tinged with sadness as she implores, Chu, are you angry with Mommy? It wasn't on purpose. Can we make it better next time? Mr. Gu slams his chopsticks down on the table, his expression darkening. What kind of manners is that? How can you speak to your mother like that? Gu Han rubs his temples, seemingly on the verge of frustration. In the suffocating silence, Gu Wanwan timidly offers, "I don't want those gifts. They can all go to my sister." Mrs. Gu's heart softens at this, and she takes Gu Wanwan's hand to comfort her, saying, "Sweetheart, you are so thoughtful. Tell Mommy what you like, and I'll buy it for you." "Okay, thank you, Mommy." The mother and daughter share a tender moment, and it seems the storm has passed. After dinner, the family gathers in the living room, engaging in conversation primarily between Mr. and Mrs. Gu and Gu Wanwan. Gu Han is nearby, handling work on his computer, while I retreat to my designated spot, engrossed in my phone. Mrs. Gu casts disapproving glances at Gu Han and me, feeling that we are neglecting Gu Wanwan, who has been eagerly awaiting their return after their days abroad. I find myself perplexed. Mr. Gu nods in agreement with his wife, recalling how, when Wen Shiya was still around, she too was cold and detached, a workaholic like their son, showing little consideration for her parents. They only adopted Gu Wanwan because of this. Now, with their biological daughter back, she too does not come to them for affection, preferring her phone over family. They are fortunate to have adopted someone. Otherwise, they would have missed out on filial piety altogether. I am left speechless. Glancing at Gu Han, I see he remains composed, evidently accustomed to such discussions. As the conversation drifts, they inadvertently bring up my educational background, inquiring about my school. Gu Wanwan, who is the same age as I am and currently in her senior year at the prestigious Ginkgo High School, beams with pride at the mention of her school, while Mrs. Gu shares in her delight. I respond casually, "Oh, I've been a homebody." Mrs. Gu, perplexed, inquires about which school homebody refers to, prompting Gu Wanwan to burst out laughing. Realizing everyone is looking at her, she quickly apologizes, "I'm sorry, sister. I didn't mean to laugh. It's just that you called taking a break from school being a homebody." She seems on the verge of giggling again when Mrs. Gu sharply interjects, "You're not attending school?" "No," I reply without lifting my head. I have never attended school, having been self-taught from a young age. Initially, Yunba and Yunma hoped I would follow a conventional path and attend school like other children. However, on my first day there, I ended up in tears, having frightened both the teacher and my classmates, which dashed their hopes permanently. They fretted over this for some time until Yun Fei remarked that there exists a barrier between the divine and the mundane. Forcing a deity to mingle with mortals would only lead to discomfort for both parties. After that, he received a good beating. Thus, I have never set foot in a school, though in recent years, the old principal has persistently attempted to persuade me to enroll, especially with the college entrance examinations approaching this year. He wishes for me to participate as a registered student. Meanwhile, Mrs. Gu's expression darkens as she discusses with her husband the need to enroll me in Gu Wanwan's school. They cannot have a daughter who is illiterate. especially one who has not attended school. The thought of such a revelation would be utterly humiliating for her, and even enrolling me just to save face would be better than allowing me to remain at home playing games all day. Gu Wanwan, listening attentively, finally expresses her concern. But what if my sister can't keep up? She has never been to school. Mrs. Gu appears hesitant, but Mr. Gu maintains a stern demeanor, retorting, at her age. She can only enter the senior year. Do you want her to repeat a grade? He continues after the college entrance exams. We can simply send her to any university abroad. At least she'll obtain a degree, and that will suffice for appearances. They make their decision in front of me, without considering my opinion. Gu Han remains silent, his brows furrowed as he glances at me, as if he wants to say something but ultimately refrains. Mr. Gu concludes, I happen to have some influence with Principal Chan at Ginkgo. It should not be a problem to have him accept a student. After speaking, he notices me still engrossed in my phone, and a flicker of disdain and regret crosses his eyes. Had he known, he might have preferred not to acknowledge me as his daughter at all. As I continue my conversation, I receive a message. I agreed. Lao Chen. Agreed to what? Lao Chen. To come to Ginkgo? Lao Chen. You finally decided to move. Mrs. Gu takes me to the school for enrollment. Gu Wanwan leads the way, occasionally pointing out various buildings with familiarity, recounting details as if they were treasured memories. I follow behind with my hands in my pockets, casually observing, matching what I see with what the old principal had told me. Although it's my first visit, the old principal must have extolled the school's virtues countless times to persuade me, as I even know what the most popular dish in the cafeteria is. The vice principal personally welcomes us, apologizing for Principal Chen's absence due to a business trip, but assuring us that everything has been arranged per his instructions. He hands over my student ID. Mrs. Gu is taken aback, even somewhat flattered. Although the Gu family is wealthy in the antique world, they cannot exert influence over someone of the principal's stature without consequence. Yet now, not only does the vice principal greet us, but it seems that had Principal Chen been available, he would have personally welcomed them. Madame Gu gazed at Gu Wanwan with satisfaction, feeling a sense of pride in her daughter's achievements. It was due to Wanwan's exceptional qualities, combined with the affluence of the Gu family, that Principal Yinxing regarded them with such favor. The formalities were swiftly completed, during which the vice principal stepped out to take a call, returning to inform them that Principal Chen was en route and wished to meet them personally if they weren't in a rush. Madame Gu was taken aback by this news, her excitement palpable as she clasped Gu Wanwan's hand, beaming, We are immensely grateful for your care of our Wanwan. Entrusting her to your school for development brings us great peace of mind. The vice principal chimed in with compliments. Student Wanwan is gracious and intelligent, consistently ranking among the top in her studies. Madame Gu is indeed fortunate. Hearing praise for her child filled Madame Gu with uncontainable joy. Their conversation flowed effortlessly, while the main subject, was left on the sidelines. With the formalities concluded, I exited the office, student ID in hand. At that moment, my phone buzzed, revealing a new message. Old Chen. I'll be there in half an hour. Wait for me. I'm leaving. Old Chen. Don't. An image of a frantic old man flashed before my eyes, prompting me to shake my head. What was so special about meeting an old man? I couldn't help but think about the impending drudgery of student life, where even meals felt unappetizing. During dinner that evening, Madame Gu spoke of the enrollment process with a tone of pride. She emphasized the principal's special interest in them and praised Wanwan's capabilities. Our Wanwan truly excels. This opportunity was largely due to her. Otherwise, things wouldn't have been so straightforward. Mr. Gu nodded in agreement, stating, Indeed, the school has imposed no conditions this time, likely due to Wanwan's presence. Yinxing has guaranteed spots for Peking University each year. The application period should be commencing, right? Gu Wanwan modestly replied, I have already applied, but the results are yet to be announced. Madame Gu's smile remained unwavering, her words overflowing with confidence that Gu Wanwan would undoubtedly secure the endorsement. The prospect of endorsement seemed to be a foregone conclusion in their discussions, when suddenly Gu Han, who had remained silent until now, interjected. The endorsement from Yinxing isn't so easily attained. Wanwan's grades seem to be lacking. Madame Gu's expression darkened immediately, her displeasure evident as she retorted. Wanwan is by no means lacking. Principal Chen has sung her praises. I bit my chopsticks and glanced at Gu Wanwan. Is it true that Principal Chen only accepted me because of you? Gu Wanwan's eyes flickered momentarily, and with a poised and elegant smile, she replied. It primarily reflects the Gu family's standing. After all, I am a daughter of the Gu family. Madame Gu furrowed her brows at me. Isn't it thanks to Wanwan's mediation that you were accepted into Yinxing? With her attending school there, it was easier for us to have you admitted. You could at least express gratitude to Wanwan instead of speaking to her in such a manner. Seeing Madame Gu's ire, Gu Wanwan gently comforted her. Mother, it's all right. My sister may not understand how difficult it is to get into Yinxing. The rice in my bowl suddenly lost its appeal. I found myself reminiscing about the Yin family, where even the crowing of the roosters in the backyard was more melodious than my current situation. After the enrollment matters were settled, the Gu couple seemed to forget about me entirely, taking Gu Wanwan out shopping or to various banquets. When Gu Wanwan received accolades at these events, Madame Gu appeared as if she had consumed a ginseng fruit, brimming with delight. In stark contrast, Gu Han, her biological son, toiled diligently at work, yet rarely received a kind word from Madame Gu. If her own son, whom she had raised for over 20 years, was so disregarded, I, the newly acknowledged daughter, was even less valued. However, I found a certain satisfaction in this arrangement. After enduring Yun Fei's relentless prattling for several days, I finally sent him an invitation code. This was a small software I had developed, which later gained popularity in specific circles after being promoted by the old principal. Anyone wishing to access the software not only had to undergo an evaluation but also required an internal invitation code. Yun Fei had long coveted this software and had recently passed the evaluation, persistently begging me for the code. Let the novice indulge in his masochism. I shall oblige him. That evening, Madame Gu planned to take Gu Wanwan to yet another banquet. Upon seeing me lounging on the sofa, Gu Wanwan's eyes flickered with something, and she tugged at Madame Gu's hand, softly pleading, Mother, let us take my sister along. She always stays home. If this continues, she might fall ill. Madame Gu cast a glance my way and, noticing me engrossed in my phone, her brows furrowed in disapproval. Today is the Lin family's banquet. Many prominent figures will be attending. Look at her, glued to her phone. What kind of impression would that leave for the Gu family? Madame Gu deemed me unsuitable for public appearances, believing that whether biological or adopted, children were merely like exquisite garments or lavish jewels, beautiful to showcase, evoking admiration from others. They must also fit comfortably. Otherwise, they were deemed unworthy. Clearly, among her 4 children, Gu Wanwan was the only one who met her standards. Reluctantly, after Gu Wanwan's persistent requests, Madame Gu agreed to take me along. Upon arrival at the Lin residence, she initially kept me by her side. When someone inquired about my identity, she explained, and I received a series of ambiguous glances. Unlike Gu Wanwan, who was charming with her words, I simply addressed people politely, saying nothing more. As Madame Gu's expression darkened, she ultimately abandoned me, offering a few parting instructions before leading Gu Wanwan away. Gu Wanwan glanced back at me, her eyes gleaming with triumph. How dreadfully mundane. I grabbed a small snack, selected a quiet corner, and resumed my phone activities. Yet, this tranquility was soon shattered. Hey, you're the true daughter of the Gu family who is just recognized, right? You don't seem that impressive. You pale in comparison to Wanwan. A group approached me, the leader's gaze challenging. I merely raised my eyelids and ignored him, continuing to focus on my phone. The young man felt embarrassed by my dismissal. I'm talking to you. I heard your family used to run an antique shop. No wonder you lack manners. He scoffed. Spending all your time with antiques, you must not know how to behave in such an upscale setting, which is why you're hiding away playing on your phone. I replied without looking up, it's the same here. The young man was momentarily taken aback, but a bystander's reminder made him realize I was mocking him. Igniting his fury, the commotion drew attention, and soon enough, Madame Gu appeared with Gu Wanwan. Upon witnessing the scene, she instinctively frowned. Zunju, didn't I tell you not to cause trouble? How could you be so reckless? Do you even realize what kind of event this is? I set my phone down and met her gaze, earnestly explaining he started it. The young man countered, claiming he was merely being friendly. While I ignored him and insulted him, his companions echoed his sentiments. I didn't even mind that she asked from an antique shop. She insulted me instead. Humph. Typical of someone from the countryside, to have such upbringing. Madame Gu felt her face flush with embarrassment, never having faced such humiliation before. Especially as I remained unfazed. Head down, engrossed in my phone, her anger boiled over. Seizing my phone, she hurled it to the ground, exclaiming, I let you know to play with your phone, disregarding my instructions. How could I have given birth to such a daughter? As she clutched her chest, visibly distressed, Gu Wanwan rushed to support her, comforting her. Others quickly intervened, suggesting that today's youth are merely rebellious. I stared silently at my phone, now lying on the floor, my thoughts subdued. A slender Fair hand picked up my phone and offered it to me. Here, luckily, it's not broken. With a wink, he warmly smiled. Are you also using the software? It appears quite impressive. We should exchange ideas when the opportunity arises. The arrival of the young man brought a hush to the surroundings, leaving Madame Gu slightly taken aback. Mr. Lin, how come you? The newcomer was none other than the host of the gathering, the heir of the Lin family, Lin Moxuan. Madame Gu, your esteemed daughter is not merely engaging with an ordinary software. It is a collaborative creation from several prestigious universities, including Ginkgo. Those who appear on the leaderboard are all students poised for admission to elite institutions. Madame Gu found herself somewhat bewildered. Playing software can lead to prestigious universities. Lin Moxuan responded with a tone of regret. Though I was the top scorer in the college entrance examination back in my day, I could only manage to place second. He cast a glance in my direction. I blinked in confusion. The crowd erupted into murmurs, with the earlier youth widening his eyes in astonishment, exclaiming, "Brother, you mean she possesses an invitation code for that software? That's impossible." The collective attention shifted to the software mentioned by Lin Moxuan. The youth, a fervent enthusiast of the software, regrettably had yet to acquire an invitation code. He was particularly enamored with those who consistently dominated the leaderboard. Is so enigmatic. I wonder if I will ever have the chance to meet them in my lifetime. I cast him a fleeting glance. Upon returning home, Gu Wanwan continued to discuss the software with unbridled excitement. Mr. Gu, intrigued, inquired about the evening's events, prompting her to recount everything that had transpired. In conclusion, she remarked dreamily that is simply extraordinary. I've heard they have been at the top for quite some time, yet no one knows their true identity. Mr. Gu casually speculated, if they are indeed as impressive as you claim, perhaps they are a university professor. Gu Wanwan, looking earnestly at him, shook her head. No, Dad. The software's user guidelines stipulate that no one over the age of 20 is permitted. The three of us engaged in a warm discussion, and I yawned as I made my way upstairs. Glancing into Gu Han's room, I noticed the diligent president had yet to return. Meanwhile, none of the three downstairs mentioned him. How pitiable, indeed, a shared sorrow among the unfortunate. Though we were ostensibly a family of 5, 2 individuals remained nameless. Previously it was Wen Shiya, and now it was I. At that moment, I seemed to grasp the reason behind Wen Shiya's swift return to the Yin family upon discovering her status as a false heiress.
Soon the time for school arrived.
I was assigned to Gu Wanwan's class, and she was taken aback to see me, given that it was an elite class. Although I had agreed to attend school at old Chen's behest, I still indulged in my usual sleeping and smartphone habits. On the first day of school, old Chen visited the class to confirm my enrollment at Ginkgo. Satisfied, he walked away, reminding the subject teacher not to disturb my sleep. My performance was consistently reported back home by Gu Wanwan, leading to the Gu couple's growing disappointment in me. Gu Han, however, took the time to speak with me once. I casually pulled out a test paper, completed it on the spot, and handed it to him, after which he ceased inquiring about my studies. Time passed, and the school's recommendations for admission were announced. Gu Wanwan's name was absent, yet mine stood out prominently among them. When Gu Wanwan returned home and shared the news, chaos erupted. There must be a mistake. Perhaps they confused Chuchu's name with Wanwan's? Madame Gu instinctively remarked. Gu Wanwan's eyes reddened as she pouted, her expression a struggle to contain her grievances. This broke Madame Gu's heart, and she insisted that there had been an error at the school. Vowing to confront the principal to reclaim Gu Wanwan's spot, Mr. Gu furrowed his brow in silence, but he too did not believe I deserved the recommendation. Only Gu Han spoke up in defense. Chuchu has excellent grades. It's not surprising that she earned a recommendation. Yet his words stirred a hornet's nest. Gu Wanwan cried, I know I am merely adopted. My sister is my brother's biological sister, which is why he favors her. This home will never truly be mine. Perhaps I should leave sooner. With that, she wiped her tears and dashed back to her room, prompting Madame Gu to scold Gu Han briefly before hastily following to comfort her. Mr. Gu shot a reproachful glance at his son. Is this how you behave as an elder brother? You let your sister feel sorrow without offering comfort, and now she is in tears. Gu Han cast a sidelong glance at me, who had remained silent throughout, then looked up at his father, his gaze heavy with meaning. Dad, Chuchu is also my sister. And so is Shiya. They too are your daughters. Why can you and Mom see Gu Wanwan's grievances, yet remain oblivious to theirs? Mr. Gu's expression momentarily froze. Then he erupted in fury, glaring at him. Are you questioning me? Gu Han stood firm, meeting his father's gaze. Ultimately, the father conceded. His son was now an adult, having inherited the family business from his grandfather. Though he was the father and could occasionally assert his authority, he dared not confront Gu Han directly. With a few perfunctory remarks, he stormed off, his retreating figure suggesting a hasty escape. Gu Han's gaze shifted to me, hesitating momentarily before reaching out to ruffle my hair, smiling gently. "Choo-choo, congratulations." Truth be told, I was indifferent to the recommendation. It was undoubtedly arranged by the old principal on my behalf. Feeling the warmth above me, I smiled back at Gu Han and, for the first time, addressed him with that title.
Thank you, brother.
Indeed, the Gu couple soon brought Gu Wanwan to seek out the principal. Gu Han, unable to shake his concern, skipped work that day to accompany them to the school. The recommendation was met with skepticism, prompting the school to take the matter seriously. Summoning relevant teachers and students for verification, Principal Chen regarded Gu Wanwan sternly. "Do you suspect the recommendation is fraudulent?" Gu Wanwan hid behind Madame Gu, unable to meet Principal Chen's gaze, and murmured, "I am not questioning the validity of the recommendation. I just believe my sister has not even attended school."
So, how could she qualify for it?
"The school may have made an error. I do not wish for my sister to take someone else's spot. That would be unfair." Her words incited a stir, drawing various scrutinizing looks toward me. Gu Han furrowed his brow slightly, stepping in front of me protectively. Principal Chen scrutinized Gu Wanwan for a moment before shifting his attention to Mr. and Madame Gu. "Yun Chu-Chu is your daughter. If others doubt her, as her parents, do you not trust her?" Madame Gu pressed her lips together, proclaiming earnestly, "Both are my daughters. I do not favor one over the other. I simply seek justice." What a noble pursuit of justice. Principal Chen chuckled lightly and refrained from further comment. He produced documents and laid them out before everyone. "Who told you that not attending school means one cannot learn? Some extraordinary talents do not conform to conventional educational methods. A year of self-study can surpass a decade of formal schooling. These are the certificates and awards that Yun Chu-Chu has accumulated from childhood to the present, with a significant portion being national-level competitions, each yielding gold medals. This alone qualifies her for admission to any university in the country." This is a journal article published by Yun Chu-Chu at the age of 12, along with 23 patents, the most trivial of which is the software she developed at 9. Principal Chen displayed his phone, revealing a familiar software that left Gu Wanwan in a daze. Her complexion turned pale, and it seemed she could scarcely remain standing. She is not a conventional genius. Her intellect is among humanity's most precious assets. If she desires, she could obtain a degree from any institution at this very moment. A mere recommendation is something she would not even covet. I merely wish to offer it. A heavy silence enveloped the room, with no one daring to speak. The Gu couple was the most astonished of all, staring at me in disbelief, momentarily forgetting how to react. This daughter, once dismissed by them, turned out to be such a prodigy. They appeared at a loss, especially Madame Gu, who seemed torn between wanting to approach and hesitating to do so. Amidst the silence, I tilted my head toward Principal Chen. "Old Chen." Principal Chen shot me a reproachful glance, yet his face was beaming with a smile. "Mind your manners, call me Grandpa." "I am quite agreeable," I remarked. "Grandpa Chen, does this mean I can choose not to attend school in the future?" Principal Chen smiled benevolently. "That is permissible. But you must come for the examinations." I nodded nonchalantly and stepped outside, the crowd parting like the Red Sea to grant me passage. Upon reaching the school gate, I spotted Gu Han standing by the car, silently casting a glance in my direction. I chose not to approach him. At that moment, Madame Gu rushed up behind me. "Choo-choo, wait for your mother. Why are you walking so fast?" She chided playfully, laughing as she reached for my hand. "Why didn't you inform your father and me? If you had told us earlier, we would not have made this fruitless trip to the school. Are you hungry?"
Today.
"Your father and I are taking you out for a delicious meal, and afterward, we can go shopping. Whatever you desire, your mother will buy for you. Mr." Gu stood by silently expressing his support for his wife. Behind them, Gu Wanwan appeared pale, tears welling in her eyes, her demeanor fragile and unsteady. I withdrew my hand from Madame Gu's grasp, her smile faltering. "No, I wish to return home." Madame Gu forced a smile. "If you're tired and want to go home to rest, let us hurry to the car." She opened the door of the luxurious vehicle beside Gu Han. I remained rooted to the spot. As her smile grew increasingly strained, a cheerful shout suddenly broke the tension. "Sis, I'm here to pick you up." A second-hand van parked nearby, and Yun Fei waved vigorously at me through the window, grinning like a fool. In the driver's seat, Wen Shiya rested one hand on the steering wheel while adjusting her glasses with the other, casting a calm glance in our direction.
He casually waved at Guhan.
Brother, come visit us sometime. I'll treat you to pastries made by Wen Shiya. With that, I tucked my hands into my pockets and strode toward the van. Guhan watched my retreating figure, reminiscent of our earlier conversation. He murmured to himself, so, this is what it means to bring oneself along. In the van, Wen Shiya glanced at me through the rear-view mirror. Heading to the Yun residence? I shook my head. I need to find a place with internet to handle some matters. Yun Fei leaned over with curiosity. What is going on, sis? I pulled out my phone, revealing dozens of unread messages, all from the same individual, Jiang Muhan. He was a friend I had met on a platform and the only one who could potentially threaten my standing on the leaderboard. He had been eager to uncover M's true identity, and I was equally intrigued by this enigmatic adversary. I'm meeting someone, I replied coolly. When Shiya raised an eyebrow through the mirror, a slight smile gracing her lips. Is it that Jiang Muhan who has been pursuing you? I nodded. It was time to meet this legendary genius. Half an hour later, we arrived at a cafe in the city center. I had sent Jiang Muhan the location, inviting him to meet me here. Just as I settled into a seat by the window, a familiar figure entered. Lin Moshwan, tall and handsome. The same person I had encountered at the Lin family banquet. He scanned the room, his gaze landing on me, a flicker of surprise in his eyes. He inquired tentatively. I nodded. Jiang Muhan? He paused for a moment before bursting into laughter. I see. No wonder you had no reaction when you heard M's name that day. Once seated, he regarded me with keen interest. I never imagined the legendary M would turn out to be the true daughter of the Gu family. You knew my identity all along? I asked. I just confirmed it. Lin Moshwan replied, lifting his coffee. But now that I think about it, everything makes sense. What makes sense? Why you consistently decline my invitations. And why you excel in topics related to antique appreciation, he mused. A genius hailing from an antique family, quite reasonable indeed. I watched him, silently. So, your purpose in meeting was merely to ascertain my identity? Not just that, Lin Moshwan said, his demeanor shifting to seriousness. I wish to invite you to join my team. What team? A project team dedicated to the digital preservation of ancient artifacts. His eyes sparkled with enthusiasm. We are developing a groundbreaking antique appraisal system. And we need a talent like you. I pondered in silence for a moment. This proposition was indeed intriguing, far more engaging than lounging at home playing on my phone. What are the terms? You can work from home, with no fixed hours. You'll receive 30% of the project profits, in addition to a monthly base salary. That sounds appealing. I nodded. I can consider it. Lin Moshwan visibly relaxed. That's wonderful. I'll send you the detailed information shortly. At that moment, the cafe door swung open once more. Gu Han rushed in, his eyes scanning the crowd until they locked onto me. He strode over, his expression darkening. Choo-choo. What are you doing here? Having coffee, I replied succinctly. Gu Han's gaze shifted to Lin Moshwan, his demeanor instantly turning wary. Mr. Lin, what a surprise to see you here. Mr. Gu, Lin Moshwan nodded politely. I was just discussing a collaboration project with your sister. A collaboration project? Gu Han frowned. Choo-choo is still in school. She doesn't have time for such matters. Brother, I looked up at him. I am capable of making my own decisions. Gu Han appeared taken aback, seemingly unprepared for my direct rebuttal. Choo-choo, you're still young, and some matters. I am 18 years old, I interrupted, legally. I am fully capable of civil conduct. Lin Moshwan observed the sibling exchange with an amused glint in his eye. Eventually, Gu Han sighed. Very well. But before you make any decisions, you must consult with me first. Agreed, I nodded. At that moment, when Shiya entered, heading straight for our table. Choo-choo. Yun Fei is getting impatient in the car. We should leave. Her unexpected arrival startled the three of us. Lin Moshwan was the first to react, rising to extend his hand. Miss Wen, it's a pleasure to finally meet you. When Shiya shook his hand politely, Mr. Lin, the pleasure is mine. Gu Han's expression was complex, his gaze probing as he looked at Wen Shiya. Shiya, what are you? I came to take Choo-choo home, she replied coolly, Mr. Gu Wen, mind, will you? Gu Han opened his mouth, yet ultimately said nothing. I stood up, addressing Lin Moshwan. Please send the information to my email. I will give it serious consideration. Certainly, Lin Moshwan nodded. I look forward to our collaboration. As we exited the cafe, Wen Shiya suddenly spoke. What terms did he offer you? 30% of the project profits, plus a monthly salary. That's insufficient. Wen Shiya adjusted her glasses. With your capabilities, you should demand at least 50%. I turned to her. You seem well versed in this. Just basic business negotiations, she replied nonchalantly. You're too easily satisfied. That could lead to being taken advantage of. Yunfei poked his head out of the car. Sis, what are you talking about? Hurry up, I'm starving. Upon returning to the Yun residence, I found my parents busy in the shop. When they saw us return, my mother wiped her hands and stepped out. Choo-choo, you're back. Have you eaten?
Not yet.
Then wash up quickly. I made sweet and sour ribs for you. As I sat at the familiar dining table, savoring the comforting dishes, an overwhelming sense of stability washed over me. My father put down his work and joined us. Choo-choo. I heard you secured a guaranteed admission spot at school?
Yes.
That's impressive. With a beaming expression of pride, Father Yun proclaimed, our child truly excels. Mother Yun shot him a glance, retorting, what do you mean by our child? She belongs to the Gu family. In my heart, Choo-choo will always be our child. Father Yun asserted earnestly. A warmth enveloped me, and my lips unconsciously curled into a smile. This must be the essence of home. No need for validation. No imperative to showcase excellence, simply the purity of being accepted and loved. Wen Shiya quietly observed this scene from the side, a flicker of envy dancing in her eyes. Shiya is quite remarkable as well, I suddenly interjected. She manages the antique shop with exceptional order and has even devised an expansion plan. Instantly, Father and Mother Yun redirected their attention towards Wen Shiya, their faces radiating approval. Indeed, Shiya is a wonderful child. During her time with us, she has been a tremendous help. Absolutely, she surpasses that rascal Yunfei by leaps and bounds. Mother Yun chuckled. Yunfei protested in discontent. Mom, I've been working hard too, you know. Hard work, you say? Wen Shiya adjusted her glasses just yesterday, you mispriced a Ming Dynasty blue and white porcelain piece as being from the Qing Dynasty. If I hadn't caught it in time, we would have incurred significant losses. Yunfei immediately wilted. That was just a momentary oversight. The family shared a warm meal together, engaging in light-hearted conversation. Suddenly, I felt that perhaps this was the life I truly yearned for, not needing to prove my brilliance, nor striving for recognition. Simply existing in the company of those who love me. My phone buzzed, an incoming message from Lin Moshuan containing project details. I casually opened it and discovered it was indeed a promising venture. Wen Shiya leaned in for a glance, then took my phone to examine it meticulously. This project is commendable, but the risk allocation is flawed, she assessed while analyzing. They have shifted the majority of the risks onto the technical partner, which is you. What should we do? We need to renegotiate the terms, Wen Shiya stated, setting down the phone. You handle the technical aspects, while I will manage the business negotiations. You wish to be involved? Why not? She replied, as if it were the most natural thing in the world. Digital preservation of antiques is precisely within my area of expertise. I pondered for a moment and nodded. Having Wen Shiya, this commercial prodigy, on board would certainly alleviate much of the burden. The next day, Lin Moshuan reached out to me. Yun Choo-choo, have you made a decision? I can participate, but we need to revisit the collaboration terms. A brief silence lingered on the other end. Understood. Let us schedule a time for a face-to-face discussion. Great. But I will be bringing a partner. A partner? Wen Shiya, you should be familiar with her. There was a noticeable pause from Lin Moshuan. Miss Wen is also joining this project? Is that an issue? Not at all, certainly not. His voice carried a hint of excitement. Having Miss Wen on board will significantly enhance the project's success rate. It seemed that Wen Shiya's reputation in the industry exceeded my expectations. After hanging up, I turned to Wen Shiya, who is diligently organizing the antiques. Lin Moshuan has agreed. We'll meet tomorrow at 3 in the afternoon at his company to discuss the specifics of our collaboration.
All right.
She replied without looking up. I'll prepare a new collaboration proposal. Are you confident about this project? Digital preservation of antiques is the future trend. If this project succeeds, its market value will start at no less than $1 billion. She set down the blue and white porcelain and turned to face me. Choo-choo, do you understand what your technology signifies? I shook my head. It will enable antique enthusiasts worldwide to appreciate and study ancient artifacts with high precision online. This is not merely a commercial endeavor. It represents a revolution in cultural preservation. Her eyes sparkled with passion for her vocation and hope for the future. I suddenly grasped why the Gu family nurtured talents like Wen Shiya. She was not only intelligent, more importantly, she possessed her own ideals and aspirations. And what about me? Beyond my extraordinary talents, what else did I have? Choo-choo, Wen Shiya seemed to sense my turmoil. Talent is a gift from the heavens. But how you choose to wield that gift is entirely up to you. I nodded, a faint resolve forming within me. Perhaps it was time to earnestly engage with my own life.
The end.
Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe and give a thumbs up for support. Until we meet again in the next story.